Before Aristotle tried to explain reality, there was Plato, the man who dared to imagine what reality should be. Plato wasn't just a philosopher, he was a storyteller, a visionary, and a seeker of ultimate truth. He asked questions most people never thought to ask. What is justice? What is love? What is truth? What is real? Born around 427 BC in Athens, Plato came from a wealthy and noble family. His real name wasn't even Plato, it was Aristocles. Plato was a nickname said to come from his broad shoulders or broad thinking, but it was his mind that made him stand out. In his youth, Plato was fascinated by politics. He wanted to help shape Athens into a better city, but when he witnessed the corruption and chaos of Athenian democracy, and especially when his teacher Socrates was executed for simply asking too many questions, something in him changed forever. That moment pushed Plato away from politics and into philosophy. He realized that before a society could be just, people first needed to understand what justice really was. So he began writing. And he wrote not in dry theories, but in conversations, dialogues, featuring Socrates as the main voice of reason. Through these stories, Plato explored some of the deepest ideas in human history. One of his most famous teachings is the theory of forms. Plato believed the world we see, indeed the physical world, is not the true reality. Everything around us, he said, is just a shadow or an imitation of something perfect that exists in a higher, invisible realm. Take a chair, for example. Every chair we see might look different, tall, short, wooden, metal, but they're all imperfect copies of one perfect form of a chair. The same goes for beauty, justice, goodness, everything. What we experience here is just a reflection of the true, eternal version that exists beyond our senses. To explain this, Plato wrote his famous allegory of the cave. Imagine people trapped inside a dark cave since birth, watching shadows on a wall. Those shadows are all they've ever known, so they believe the shadows are real. But one person escapes the cave, steps into the sunlight, and sees the real world for the first time. When he returns to tell the others, they don't believe him, because the truth feels too different from what they've always seen. For Plato, most of us live like those prisoners, seeing only the shadows of truth. Philosophy, he said, is the journey of turning toward the light. Another of his great works, The Republic, explored what the perfect society should look like. In it, Plato imagined a world ruled by philosopher kings, wise, rational leaders who seek truth rather than power. He believed that only those who understand what's truly good and just should be trusted to lead. He also divided the human soul into three parts: reason, spirit, and desire. Reason seeks truth, spirit drives ambition, and desire craves pleasure. A balanced person, Plato said, is someone whose reason rules over the other two, just as a balanced society is ruled by wisdom, not greed or passion. In the Symposium, Plato turned to love. He described love as a ladder, starting with physical attraction, then moving toward love for the soul, then for all beauty, and finally for truth itself. For Plato, love was the force that pulled humans toward perfection, the bridge between the mortal and the divine. Plato's impact didn't stop with ideas. Around 387 BC, he founded the Academy, the world's first true university. Students came from all over Greece to study philosophy, mathematics, and science under his guidance. One of them was a young man named Aristotle, who would later become one of the most influential thinkers in history. Through the Academy, Plato created a legacy of knowledge that lasted for nearly 1,000 years. Even after it closed, his writings continued to inspire minds across civilizations, from ancient scholars to Renaissance thinkers to modern philosophers. Plato believed that reality wasn't just what we see, it was what we could understand if we learned to think deeply. He taught that truth exists beyond opinion, and that knowledge is remembering what our souls already know. He once wrote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." That single line became one of philosophy's greatest challenges, to question everything, even ourselves. Plato died around 347 BC, but his ideas never did. His vision of a world driven by wisdom, justice, and truth still shapes how we think today, in science, politics, art, and ethics. He gave us the dream of a higher world, a place where truth is not just imagined, but understood. And maybe that's why, even after thousands of years, Plato still matters. Because he didn't just describe the world as it was, he showed us the world as it could be.